Okay, so we're gonna pick up from where we left off yesterday, or not yesterday, but Monday. So Monday, we were talking a lot about slope. And I had to teach you about slope so that we could do slope-intercept form today, okay? So our lesson from today will be on slope-intercept form. And so hopefully, by the end of class, you will be able to take an equation that is in slope-intercept form, or maybe not, and put it in slope-intercept form and then graph it, okay? So let's look at the slope-intercept form equation, okay? It's y equals mx plus b. So if it's not in this form, it is not slope-intercept form, okay? It has to follow this exact format. So y must come first. You have an equal sign. You have your m, which is your slope. You have your symbol here, which could be a minus sign or a plus sign, and then your b, okay? So m is slope, okay? That is the steepness of the line. And there's an equation that we used to calculate it if it's not already given. Okay, and that is m equals y2 minus y1 over x2 minus x1, okay? And then our y-intercept is that b value, okay? So one thing that we have to note is that since we're graphing our intercept, we have to make sure we write it as a point. Do you remember how to write your y-intercept as a point from your last class's lesson? What's always the x value going to be? 0. And then it'll be whatever the y-intercept is. So we don't know the exact value yet because we haven't calculated using any equations, but it'll always be 0 comma whatever this b value is here, okay? So let's look at these 4 equations and see which of these equations are in slope-intercept form, if any, okay? So looking at A, y equals 5 plus x3, is that in slope-intercept form? So you're basing it off of this formula here. Do you have your slope, then your x, then your symbol, then your b? No. Okay. This one shows that we have our, what variable would this be from the formula? Mm-hmm. It'd be the y-intercept. It's just the b. Okay, it's just the number by itself. And what's wrong with this setup here? Yes, Justin. It's the wrong way, right? Our slope has to be written in front of the x always. So how can we fix this? This would be y equals 3x plus 5, and now it's in slope-intercept form. Okay? It has to follow the format. Y must come first, then your equal sign, then your slope, then your x, then your symbol in between, and then your y-intercept. Okay? Let's look at the next one. We have b, or our letter b. So negative y equals 4x minus 2. It's pretty close, but what's the issue? The y is negative. Y has to be by itself, completely by itself, nothing around it, nothing in front of it. So how can we fix this one? Let's just go ahead and divide everything by -1, and then it fixes this problem, okay? Whenever we have a negative in front of our y, there's an imaginary 1 behind it, right? So that's why we're going to divide by -1 to get rid of that symbol. Okay, so it'll be y equals negative 4x plus 2. Now it's in slope-intercept form. So what I want to point out here as well is when you have a minus and this negative, that will always cancel out to become a positive here, okay? So you don't write these twice, which I see sometimes. you'll cancel them out to become a positive symbol. Okay? So looking at C, lots of problems with C, right? 10x minus 5y equals negative 5 is not in slope-intercept form, and actually not even close. We'd have to do quite a bit, right, to get that to be in slope-intercept form. The y isn't by itself, the x is on the same side as the y, and our intercept is by itself on the other side. Okay, so this is where we have to tie in solving equations for a variable. So we need to solve C for y. We need to get y all by itself. Okay. So we're actually going to do that one when we do this problem over here. So we won't fix that one yet. Okay, we'll fix that one once we go over here. What about D? What's the problem with D?
Maybe a fraction.
Yes, we can have fractions. Slopes can be fractions, yes.
It's negative.
It can be negative.
And so is the whatsoever. There's no x.
Ah,
Right, no.
so you're, yes, what is,
There's no, you know.
so if there's no x on the 7, it can be what then? It can be your intercept. Your intercept doesn't have an x on it, so that's okay. This one, we have a slope. Our slope is always the number in front of x. So this is our slope portion, and this is our intercept. So we need to just flip them around, okay? This should be first, including the sign that goes with it, and then this should come after, okay? So what will be our sign in front of 7?
Positive. Plus 7.
Why? Why do you know that?
Well, I mean, there's nothing, there's no negative in front of the 7.
Exactly. So it's
positive.
exactly. Since there's no negative in front of it and there's nothing, that just indicates that it's just a positive, okay? So when we flip it around, we'll have in slope-intercept form. This is our slope, negative 5 over 3x. That's what we write first. Okay, and then our 7 is positive, and so we'll have plus 7. So now it's in slope-intercept form. Okay. So we can graph things that are in slope-intercept form. Okay. If we do not have our equation in slope-intercept form, we cannot properly graph it. Okay, so you always have to make sure your equation is in slope-intercept form so that you can graph it appropriately. Okay, so let's go ahead and try this out. Are there any questions about the slope-intercept formula or how to get an equation in slope-intercept form before we move on? Yeah.
So it's literally just fixing the equation, like if you need to divide, you just divide.
Exactly.
So you're not having to do like write out like a long period of steps, unlike this problem.
So we will on this one because there's a lot more steps, but like when it's just a matter of flipping it around, there's no steps, like this one and this one. But you see how here we had to do a little bit of math, we had to divide. So like this one will be more involved. So, but other than what we've shown, yes, it's not deeper than that. Okay. Okay, so now let's go ahead and put this equation in slope-intercept form so that we can graph it. Okay, so that means that we need to get y by itself. So what should we move first?
The 10x over to the right.
Yes, exactly. So let's move 10x over to the right using its inverse operation or sign, which is subtraction. And now we'll have negative 5y all alone on the left. And the right side.
Negative 5 minus 10x.
Okay, that is,
Negative 10x minus 5.
why did you make that correction?
Because the x has to become before the.
Yes, yes, Jasper. Okay. Yeah, you have to write it in the specific way that makes it in slope-intercept form. So negative 5 minus 10x would not match this system here, okay? You have to have your x portion first, which is negative 10x, and then your b portion. So notice our b is negative. That takes over for this plus sign. So if that ever occurs, you replace the plus sign with the minus. So it's negative 10x minus 5 is how we would write this out. Okay. Is this in slope-intercept form? Ooh, I see yes, I see no. Why would What's wrong with it?
Because the y is false.
Yeah, the y has what next to it?
Negative.
Yeah, the negative 5.
So we would divide the
So we
5.
divide everything by this negative 5. Okay. So y equals, these are positive, 10 divided by 5 is 2x. 5 divided by 5 is 1, there's a negative there, so minus 1.
It'll be negative 5 divided by negative 5.
So would that be plus 1 instead?
Oh, I forgot my negative, thank you, yes. So, thank you, yes. I was like, no, it's negative, but I forgot the negative. So we end up with our equation that is in slope-intercept form. How do we know it's in slope-intercept form? Because we have the formula here, and it pretty much matches. I have an actual slope, which is 2, and I have an actual intercept, which is 1, okay? So y is by itself, perfect. My x term comes first, and the slope is in front of x, perfect. And then your intercept is last, okay? So now we can graph this. We have our slope, which is 2, which is not enough information. I need to add something else so that I can further graph my slope. What do you have?
You put a 1 under it.
Yes, we need to have a 1 underneath. Why? Because when we graph slope, we need to know where we're going up or down from our starting point, and we need to know where we're going left or right, okay? So this 2 on top says from my starting point, I'm going up 2 because it's positive, and I'm going right 1 because it's a positive 1 there, okay? So that's my slope, and my intercept is 1. So my B is 1, and I need to write this as a point because I am graphing. So 0, 0, 0, comma 1. Yes?
Is it always a 1 under the 2, or does that change sometimes?
It's always a 1 when our slope is just a whole number.
Oh, okay.
So if it was negative 14, we'd have to put a 1 underneath it. If it's 7, we put a 1 underneath. But if it's already a fraction here, so like 3/5 in front of x, we don't need this 1 because it'll already have our up and down direction and our left and right.
So is that like letter D? That, like,
Yeah, so this one tells me I'm going down 5 and right 3.
Oh.
So we already have those pieces, but when it's just 2, it just says up 2. We don't know about left or right. Okay, that was a great question. So now we can graph this. I like to indicate that this is the starting point. So B is our intercept. Also think of it as the starting point. So you need to graph this point first. Okay, so use your graph paper, your yellow graph paper. If you don't have graph paper, graph some here. That way your graph can look really accurate. Mine might look a little sideways because I'm using just a board. Okay. So, what should I graph first?
The starting point.
The starting point, which is your intercept, which you write as 0, comma, whatever the value is for B. So let's first graph 0, 1. Okay, a big giant dot so everybody can see. Okay. So we're starting here. Okay, so say this is UAF. And we need to go to Safeway, I don't know. So Safeway, we can get to Safeway if we follow these directions. So we need to go up 2 into the right 1, and we're gonna do that twice. And up 2 into the right 1. Okay, so up 2, right 1, that's where you put your point. You have to follow this full direction before you put your point, okay? So we're almost to Safeway, we just need to do that one more time. So from our second point here, we'll go up 2 and right 1. Okay, so we made it to Safeway. Once you have your 3 points, draw a line through it, and you now have this equation graphed. So let's talk through the process.